Well, good evening and welcome to Hull and Back podcast here with Tiger Talk. It's on Humble Wave Radio as well. Thanks very much for joining us. Good to have you join us tonight. And we've lost one already, but we are live tonight, live on the radio. If you want to get in touch with us, you can WhatsApp us 01482 772 663, or you can have a comment on whatever platform you're watching us on tonight. Let's just put you there and say good evening to you, Mash. And hello to you, Toast 232. Jan, see if we can get you back on the stage. I think so, possibly. Well, see, Jan's not in the UK at the moment. She's sunning herself in a better climate. Evening to you, Jan.
Good evening. I am here, but I'm sort of dipping in and out by the look of this Wi-Fi. But yeah,
we'll see how we go, Jan. If you can do it, if you can. If not, then don't worry, it won't matter. Evening to you, Paul.
Evening.
Evening to you, James.
Evening.
And last but not least, evening to you, Chris.
Good evening, all.
Evening to you as well, Lee. Good to have you tuned in tonight. And we're going to talk a little bit about the game on Saturday against Bristol City. We'll talk about our transfer window closure and how we think we've all done, as well as bits from you as well. So, yeah, if you want to get in touch with us, get in touch in the ways that I've said already. Jan will probably try and tell you some untruths about me tonight. I was sat next to Jan and John at the Bristol game on Saturday, and she's going to tell you things about me, and none of it is true, just let me tell you. Do you want to get out of the way now, Jan?
No, not at all. But when we start on this, you always say, be very careful what you're saying. Just make sure you don't swear, which is fine. Absolutely, I won't. But blimey, you made up for it on Saturday. That's all I'm going to say.
Obviously, it's not something that happens regularly, Jan. I don't swear at the football very often. And, do you think I do well to hold it on the radio?
You were great. You were absolutely great. It was fine.
Thanks for that. You've not heard me swear at the football before, Paul, have you?
Never, ever. Watch out, my nose might knock somebody over in a minute.
So, yes, it was a very shouty game. Me and Jan was down there at Bristol on Saturday. Seeing as you've got connection at the moment, Jan, let's ask you, what did you think?
Well, the way we started, I thought, this is going to be a turn up for the Bucks, but it didn't quite end that way, did it? It kind of showed our frailties. I've had a bit of criticism on Twitter because I don't know if people know, but I'm a big Alfie Jones fan. And I had a lot of criticism saying, he's no good without Jacob Greaves. Well, actually, I'd turn around and perhaps and say Hughes is no good without Alfie Jones, because it wasn't good on Saturday. That defence wasn't good, was it?
No, it definitely wasn't good. You was frightened every time they got the ball, to be quite honest with you. Every time they got a free kick or they got a corner or whatever, you was frightened and you thought they was going to score. And it was difficult. I mean, after a really good start, you think, this isn't going to be bad. And unfortunately, they then, I suppose, turned it on a little bit. And our defence, whether Hughes was a little bit, I don't know, off it because of all the transfer speculation. Pandor the same. He looked as though he maybe went on it through all the transfer speculation, and probably good news that the transfer window's closed, and let's hope that they can get back onto their A game. Lots of people will disagree with me as well, Jan, and I'll probably get lots of comments on here. We've got quite a few already, but we'll probably get some comments on here saying the same to me. And I ain't worried about it because people was saying last season that Egan was a step up from Jones, and I totally disagree that Egan was a step up from Jones. I think that Jones is definitely a better player than Egan. And listen, the thing that we like on Tiger Talk here on Hull and Back podcast and on Humble Wave Radio is your opinions, because you are all going to agree with me, and I'm not bothered about that. You can disagree with me, and it's all about opinions. So give us your opinion. Let us know what you think. What do you think, Paul?
Saturday's game, well, I think the defence was very poor. I think all of them had a hand in one of their goals, not marking properly. I mean, Egan totally let their centre forward and he stood behind him in the middle of the area. Cody Drama don't make a challenge, he just lets him have a free header. Giles lost the ball, and then Hughes lost the ball later on. It was just an absolute terrible display by our defence, and it's a little bit worrying actually because that was our strong point last year. Our defence probably kept us up, and this year we're leaking goals. I mean, even the Oxford game, we go one up, they go down the other end and score. Go two up, and they're going down the other end and score. We just can't seem to keep a clean sheet. I thought it was looked quite good against Coventry, kept a clean sheet. Since then, it's just been horrendous, the defence. I don't think Panda's at his best at the moment. Don't seem to be commanding his area at all. I don't know what the problem is, but he needs to sort it out because 2 goals away from home, you would hope to get a point more often.
We seem to have just lost Paul for a second there, but yeah, has everybody else lost him as well, or is it just me?
No, I'm
Yeah,
back at it.
Oh, you're back now, yeah. 2 points,
Yeah.
2 goals
Yeah.
away from home.
Yeah, you'd like to think you get a point out of it more often than not, if not 3 points. Plus the fact I think they hit the bar, I think they hit the post. All right, I mean, their keepers made a really good save from Matt Bay header. So it reminded me a bit of a game, I don't know if it was 4 or 5 years ago, end season game. I think it finished 5-5 or something. It reminded me a little bit of that, to be honest. I mean, obviously they were the better team and they was on top, apart from the early part of the game. But our defence is just poor. And I don't know what the problems, how we can sort it out. Because my disappointment with the transfer window was we didn't get another central defender. And as we said last week, Ajayi doesn't look as though he's going to play that many games this season. He might get 25 or something like that. But it's a long season. And he's already had an injury keeping him out.
Let's
Egan just hasn't done it recently, I don't think. So I'm a bit worried about us this year if the defence doesn't improve.
Let's come to the transfer window in a little while then, Paul. Let's ask James, was it good to see a scoring game for the player who's not been cutting it with us and finally gets a goal in the last 2 minutes of the game? What do you think, James?
It was really nice for Joseph to get his goal, obviously. For him to be off the mark, I mean, it's taken him, what is it? Has he had how many appearances for us now? I mean, in the Championship, I think it's about 30, isn't it? So in total over his career. But for it to take him that long to get to his first goal, I mean, hopefully he kicks on from here. But, I'm not going to necessarily hold my breath. But, I mean, he had a few good chances. And I do think potentially developing his game and hopefully him being up there with McBurney as well is going to develop him even more.
Yeah, no, I think that McBurney will definitely help him going forward, and it was good to see him get a goal. It was a well taken goal, and he could have had one before that. Their goalie did pull off some good saves, but you'd want your goalie to pull off some of those saves, maybe, or get your defence to stop some of those crosses coming in and things like that. What's your thoughts on the game, Chris?
Well, I only saw the extended highlights, so take what I say with a pinch of salt, but I've got to agree with what most people have said. Defensively, we look poor. From one of the angles I saw, one of the headers, it looked like it could have been a foul on Drame. It looks like the player came from behind him and went right through him when he was at his ground stood, but it's obviously if the referee sees it. Again, great that Joseph got his first goal of the season. Hopefully that breeds a bit of confidence and he kicks on. The other point I was going to say is, adding to what we've already discussed, I think it was Jukiewicz first press conference, or certainly early on in pre-season, when he'd identified some weaknesses from last season, and he spoke about the gap between the defensive line and midfield line. And from what I saw from the game, apart from Lundstrom being in there, and often he was having to drop back because the fullbacks were pushing forward, that gap was massive, and Bristol exploited it. So when he said in his article I saw in Hull Live that he was going to address it over the next 2 weeks and sort it out, hopefully he does, because he's identified a weakness from last season and it's carried on, with the amount of goals we're leaking this season. Is it three goals in last 3-4 games now? So we can't keep conceding the way we are, because we can't do was it a Dalglish that said, I don't care how many you score, we'll score one more? Because
I think it was Kevin Keegan won it.
Kevin Keegan, that's it.
Yeah, Kevin Keegan will score more than you. And I did like to watch Kevin Keegan's Newcastle play. It was really interesting, but it didn't win him the league playing the way that he played, did it? So, you know, obviously it can work and it can be entertaining, but ultimately, you know, it is a points-based business. And if he has, you know, spotted, as you said, the distance between the defense and the midfield just didn't work in at the moment, is it? That's the thing. It's something not right in the midfield. And Lundstrom's maybe being asked to do a little bit too much. He's maybe not got enough support. I think there's still that thing of like, should we go 3 at the back and play it that way, which might work. And that goes on to this question. Would you play Coyle over Drame? And I think the answer from Saturday's game would probably be yes from me. Let's ask you, Paul.
Well, to be fair, he's had a bad game as Drame on Saturday, but I don't think he's been bad this season. Don't really know. Coyle's got his attributes and Drame's got his attributes. I think if you could mix them together as one player, it'd probably be better, but obviously they're not the two separate players. I would probably give Drame another game, to be quite honest. You know, they're entitled to have a bad game now and again, aren't they? And if he's working on it over the next 2 weeks, you know, you've got to give him another chance just because he had one bad game. I mean, if you said that, like we said about Joseph, fair score in 30 games, he'd never be in the team or the subs, would it? You're thinking
He wouldn't.
he's never going to score. So you've got to give him a chance a little bit, I think. So, no, I wouldn't swap him at the moment.
James, what's your thoughts?
Well, we actually spoke about this on Saturday, and I think that when we're playing away from home, to help the defence out a little bit, if you could play Coyle there on the right rather than Drame, you could then go into like a back three shape while Giles is pushing further up the pitch. And I think that would not only help the defence out, but then also allow Lundstrom to play a little bit further up the pitch without him having to drop so deep. I think, like I said, now we've got a bit more midfield cover. We might have a little bit, you know, less defensive areas when we play away from home because we might stack out the midfield a little bit more defensively. But as I say, I think it's a good option to at least have Coyle there because I think defensive-wise, he can work as a right centre-back and as part of a back three, especially when, you know, you've got all your attacking threat coming from Giles on the left. And if you play Balumi as well, there's your creativity on the right side.
That's the thing, innit, Chris? When you look at it, I mean, I looked at Saturday's game and I looked at Drame. I also looked at Giles, and I just thought both of them, when you look in a defensive manner, just don't look strong enough to me. And maybe he's got to change it up. And at half time, I'd have probably brought Brandon Williams on for Giles on Saturday. I think he's better defensively than Giles. I mean, Giles going forward, some of the crosses he puts in, absolutely outstanding. But, you know, for me, I'm not sure whether he's good enough defensively. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, I tend to agree. I like what James said. If he's happy to rotate, maybe you go with Coyle, who's got that little bit more about him defensively. Drame's attributes certainly seem to be better going forward, I'd say. So maybe to solidify things, you maybe do look to make that change at right back. The player that actually was picking out as underperforming, and I would normally protect him, and because I rate him, is Slater. Again, I only watched the highlights, but from some of their goals, he looked very lacklustre. Walking around the pitch when they were in counter attack, he wasn't busting a gut to get back like normal, so something looked off with him. But yeah, I think again, defensively, I know we spoke about the centre back situation, but you've got options now at both left and right back. Drama and Giles have got great strengths going forward. Potentially the Coyle and Williams, as you've said, are maybe just stronger defensively, and when you're away from home would maybe work better. Maybe Williams isn't quite up to speed to play a full 45 yet. Did he play in the academy game last night? Because I know Balumi got some minutes, didn't he?
Yes, Jan's nodding. Jan, did you think Slater was off on Saturday? Because I did, actually, to be quite honest.
I did, but both him and Coyle, for me, get unnecessary criticism. Successive managers have played them, consistently. So, we're entitled to our opinion, and that's fine. But we aren't the people that know exactly what they're looking for. So, whilst I would agree he had an off day, as I think Palmer did as well, and Lundstrom, he didn't have his greatest game in midfield, to be fair. I do think that the criticism both Slater and Coyle get is unjust. And I think the thing for me is it's the style of play. It's fabulous when you're going forward and you've got basically your fullbacks are playing as wing backs. they're not great at defending. Conversely, if you put the ones in that are great at defending, they're not good going forward. But we've got to swallow it and think, hang on a minute, who do we think we are? We're not Manchester City, we're not Liverpool, we're not Arsenal. We're a mid to lower table championship team at the moment. We can't expect them to have everything in their locker. So I think rather than criticise them, we need to get behind these lads.
It's good. It's a good point, Jan. Owen says that he watched Brandon Williams last night and is nowhere near match fit. Also, I've got on here Cookie, who's been sending me quite a lot of messages, and he says that he watched Williams last night and he said that he's nowhere near match fit. It was off the pace. He said that Giles gets in better positions offensively and has generally played well overall. Balumi looked great, though, and Balumi got a couple of goals last night. His first goal was sweet, says Coxey. It looked like a good goal. I have seen the replay on Twitter, and it did look like a good goal from Balumi. He could come into the side, I think we've got to nurse him a little bit just to make sure we don't get him another injury quickly. But, it's good to see him back on the pitch on Saturday, wasn't it, Paul?
Oh, yeah, I mean, he's a good player, isn't he? I mean, you want him there. You say you've got to be a little bit careful with him. He's been out a long while. You don't want something to happen to him again and, maybe end his season. You never know. So it's a case of, using him correctly, I think. Bringing him on as a sub a few times and slowly getting him back into the sort of team permanently. But I think the sort of fullback, wing back sort of things, the wingers they've got to get some sort of understanding, aren't they, realistically? And, we're changing things every now and again. We've had different people on the sort of wings, and it's hard to get an understanding. And sometimes them understandings take a few games to get together. And you always find when they do get the understandings, things work a lot better. I think, that respect, they cover well, and things like that. And it's possibly with the fact that we haven't got a settled team as such. We've brought a few new players in, had injuries. Hopefully, as I say, this 2 weeks settles them in, and we start to kick on a little bit after that and get a bit tighter at the back and move forward, because it's been a bit of a itty bitty start to the season. Started well at Coventry, did well most of the time at Wrexham. Was all right against Oxford, but was poor against Blackburn and poor again on Saturday. So I think he just needs to get a settled team out there and hopefully move forward and get a few sort of pieces of the jigsaw put back in right. And obviously we've got a few new players to intermingle with the team now, so it could take a few more weeks before it's really settled, I think.
Bit of work in progress going on there then. Obviously, last night there was the 21 games. Coxey said that he watched Coyle and he still needs a few more minutes before he could end up being a starting player rather than just coming on off the bench. And he might be right. Your transfer window's obviously closed now. We've got quite a lot of summer signings. You don't realise probably when we're talking about all these things that new players do have to come in and they do have to settle. And when you look at it, we've got 12 new players that have come in over the transfer window and have to settle in. So it's not easy, is it, trying to, get a settled team and get them all working well together, Chris?
No, exactly. And I think I saw something on Twitter earlier saying, have we lost 19 as well? So, it's a massive overhaul of the squad again. But yeah, I mean, I think in any team sport, it goes without saying, you need that time for the team to settle, get to know each other's games, what sort of runs they're going to be making, where they want the pass, that sort of thing. So yeah, it takes time. I know it's a bit of a cliche. What do they say? Like waiting for the team to gel, but I play team sports. I've done for a lot of my life, and it's absolutely true. Anybody who disagrees, I'd happily discuss it over a beer with them. But it's absolutely true. It's going to take a while. And again, every year we have this 12, 14, 16 players coming through the door. So, and it takes time to settle. There's no two ways about that.
We've got you on for a reason tonight, James. Not just because you come on every week and be with us, but because you might be able to tell us what Amia's surname is.
Hedzimetovic.
Yeah, and I knew he'd do it, so I'm not even going to try. I've just embarrassed myself. But to get 2 signings in on deadline day, James, and not lose Hughes and Pandor, we couldn't have asked for much more than that, could we?
I mean, mainly, obviously, keeping Hughes and Pandor was the big things. I mean, I was expecting at least Pandor to probably actually be out the door, especially when. I mean, it seemed a bit bizarre the people he was being connected with, especially West Ham and Borough, considering Borough seemed to be quite happy with their first choice keeper, and West Ham have just spent quite a lot of money on a keeper as well in the transfer window. So it was really bizarre. But like I say, Giabi, how we've managed to somehow get him for free off Leeds when they paid £5 million for him, I'll never know. It seems that Leeds seem to be wanting to bail us out a little bit this summer, which you can have your own opinion on that as City fans, and I'll have mine. But but both players look good, and I think especially Hedzimetovic, with him being supposedly more of a defensive midfield there, but he can obviously play sort of anywhere centrally. That's the cover that we've been crying out for, so hopefully it comes good.
And he's the one that the manager wanted, Jan, isn't he?
Yeah, he is indeed. And you know my thoughts on the players that come from the Turkish league. There's no point me reiterating that. But he's Bosnian, isn't he? And he's well thought of by Sergi. So you've got to trust in him. He's the guy that's steering the ship at the moment. So I'm okay with that. So we'll just have to see. But while we're talking about last night's game, though, one thing that I constantly go on about, and you'll hear me going about, is the lack of investment into the academy. It is an absolute joy to watch that academy team. We go and watch them. We've been all over the place because the poor lads are never settled. You play at North Ferriby, you play at the MKM, you play at Bishop Burton, we even played at York's ground last year as well. But what they've managed to produce with some players stepping in and out of the first team squad as well is nothing short of miraculous. But can you imagine if they'd actually continued the investment? Again, people know I'm not an anti-Elan person, so I'm not the person to talk about that. But the one thing that nobody can argue with is the investment in the academy and bringing those players through. And last night, it was just a joy to watch that game and to play. They were undefeated, weren't they? Were the Birmingham team? And given that their first team squad has had how many millions spent on them, that was some achievement by Connor and the backroom staff and the players. I just think we're missing a trick by not investing more in them.
Yeah, Cookie agrees with you. He said the academy was a joy to watch last night. So yeah, well done for that, and really good performance. 5-1 win last night against Birmingham. So well done to the academy. Anyway, we're on Miller's test results. I've not seen anything on this yet. Has anybody else?
No.
So that one's gone. Sorry about that. It was a quick answer. Doyle and Balumi linked together well last night. Somebody else there watching the 21s. Like the look of Farrell Brown last night. He's going to be one for the future. Certainly is. I think he, a lot of people might shoot me down again. I've not had many people shoot me down at the moment yet. But I thought that Joel Ndala won very good on Saturday. And I think that bringing Joseph on at half-time for Ndala was the right move, to be quite honest with you, because he's got a trick or two, but he doesn't seem to be protecting the defence that much. And his trick or two hasn't done an awful lot just yet, Paul.
Oh, he's a young lad, isn't he? It's hard. He's come, he's been more or less got straight into the first team, didn't he? And it's going to be hard for him to sort of settle in. I think it's like we said earlier, the team needs to settle in, and he's one of these players. He's got, as you say, got a trick or so. I think he's got a lot of skill. He came on and he looked brilliant the first game. But it's gonna, young lads are in and out, aren't they? Sometimes they're brilliant, sometimes they're not so good. You just got to give them time, realistically. And he's another one. I mean, he probably won't start as many games as he has been doing, I don't think, once we get the other players up and running. But at the moment, obviously, at the time he came in, we've been a bit short of players. Obviously, Kamara was here, then he was not going, then he was going, and he's eventually gone. So, I think he's sort of stepped in, a bit early, maybe. I think if he'd have come, like the other lads have, he'd probably be playing now and again. He's not. I don't think he's going to be a starter every week. Let's put it that way. I think he has got a bit of skill, but he's just a young lad, and he's going to be a bit missing. Somebody's just said so.
Yeah, no,
I'm not against him playing.
Yeah, Marsh is saying that. Also, Cookie's saying that he needs time to settle into senior football. The thing with it is that I think we've got other players that we could play ahead of him, and I think my problem with any loan player coming in is we don't want to guarantee people a game if they are just settling in. And for me, I think that we've tried to start him too quickly. I think maybe our injury situation has added to it, but I do think that Joseph can play there. He played there quite a bit last season, and I'd have probably started with Joseph rather than putting the pressure on Ndala and let Ndala settle in a little bit more because, for me, I think, we need some more support, especially in games like Saturday, where it was a little bit under the cosh, and I don't think he gave us it, to be quite honest. Akintola looked lively, and I agree. I thought that Akintola on Saturday, for the first half, certainly, he would have been my man of the match. He closed down the player, he got the ball off, and he set up the first goal for Geldhart. And I thought, apart from being offside, he played really, really well on Saturday. What did you think, James?
I think you could make a case for him being the man of the match, but I mean, that's, out of not much competition there, really, is it? But I think at the end of the day, my main criticism of him on Saturday was I'm just making the point that as a senior winger, he's 30. And he needs to be checking down his line, and he's a pacey player. Like he can't when you've got that level of speed, you can't keep being offside multiple times in the game. He doesn't need to be offside. I think they definitely mentioned this quite a bit on the previous pod. Like I say, I just don't get it from someone who's that experienced to be being offside that that often.
I think he's, again, it's that thing of settling into the English game. And I listened to the interview with him. It was a really good interview with David Akintola, where he was saying, moving country, he was really excited to be here, but he was really shocked at the pace and the strength and the physicality of the championship when he came. So, he's the same as Ndala, although he's older. It's going to take time to settle into a new way of playing football. I mean, Ndala has been playing in England, so it does take a bit of time, doesn't it, Chris?
Yeah, and I think it's Jan said before, the amount of the players that come from overseas, particularly the Turkish leagues, it's a lot more technical and slower over there. If you ever watch any of the games, but yeah, you come in. I mean, we saw it with most of our Turkish players, didn't we? All played in the Turkish leagues. There's only really Ozan that adapted and did any good, and he started fairly slow. But there's people like Sinek who the physicality of it, he wasn't robust, and he spent 3 years on the treatment table. So, yes, I take the point, James. Yeah, he's with a bit of experience. You'd expect, a couple of times the defence is going to spring the offside trap, but you've got to use that experience. But yeah, absolutely right. The Championship's a very physical league and more faster pace than some of the European top tiers.
He is 30. Does he look more raw than Ndala? No, I disagree with you, Coxie. I don't think he does. I think that, when you looked at his closing down and him taking the ball off, I think that he's definitely not as raw as Ndala, to be quite honest. But you're quite entitled to your opinion. Anybody else think that he's more raw than Ndala?
No.
Well, he shouldn't be, should he? At 30.
No.
If he is, there's no hope for him if he's that raw at 30. Like, I think the trouble is when they have got this pace, they don't allow themselves that yard because they've got the pace to get past people, but they all seem to want to be right on the edge.
I said he's not João Pedro, is he? He doesn't need to give himself that extra yard to be able to actually get a goal.
But you've got to remember the defenders have usually got their back to goal anyway. So if you're playing a through ball over the top, it takes them a second to turn around.
Yeah,
so
that's what I say. I don't know why a lot of them do it, not just him. I mean, a lot of the good players do it. They get caught offside regularly.
Yeah.
I don't know why they need to if they've got the pace.
I agree. I think we've obviously really talked an awful lot about Joseph on here and about his lack of goals and stuff like that. But one thing he can do, he can stay on side. He's got the pace, and he does play that side of the game right. And if he can just get his goal scoring boots on, then there could be a player in there. I saw a comment earlier that disagreed with all of what I've just said, but I do think there is something there with Carl Joseph, and I do think there's a chance that he could come good. And that one goal, I said that he needed a goal, and that goal might just be the thing that helps him out and gets him, firing for us. And to me, the next game, I'd probably start with Carl Joseph in in Ndala's position. You know, that's just my opinion. You're entitled to yours. What's your thoughts on that, Jan? Can't hear you, Jan. You've turned your mic off or something. No, still can't hear you, Jan. What's your thoughts on that, Chris? We'll come to Jan in a minute.
Yeah, I mean, because we're away from home, it's Swansea, isn't it? And they've invested quite a lot. They're looking quite strong. You maybe take his work rate, and like you've said, he's quite defensively disciplined. And like I say, with a bit of luck, like I say, he's got his goal now. Confidence will be up. Hopefully, he can go on from that. But yeah, I don't see the harm in giving him a start on the left in place of Ndala. And if he had such a bad game on Saturday, maybe take him out the firing line and see what he can do as an impact player coming off the bench. Because Ndala, I mean, I actually was quite excited by him in pre-season, and in that Oxford game, he did look quite dangerous. But like you've said, Adey, he hadn't he's got his tricks, but he hadn't really done anything with it since then.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. He hasn't really done it since then, and I do think that's I think that the Oxford game showed the strengths of both. You know, when you look at it, both left and right backs, and it showed the strength of Ndala, but it was against a team, you know, obviously that I think a lot of Championship clubs would like to beat this season. I don't think they're going to be, you know, in and around the top 6, if I'm honest. So I think that, you know, there was the sort of team that was looking to try and beat. But, you know, I think that, you know, that Oxford game showed them in a good light. But then when you get the pressure like we did at Bristol on Saturday, it doesn't show them in as good a light. And I think the manager, obviously, he's new to the Championship as well. I think he's a good manager. As I said, you know, I'm happy with his appointment. I think that, you know, he's going to probably, he's got to do better than what Sayers is doing at Sheffield United. He's doing better already than what Sayers is doing at Sheffield United. So I don't think it's a bad replacement, but I think that he's got to learn a little bit, and he'll probably kick himself from Saturday. I think that he'll look back and think, I could have done this better and I could have done that better. And hopefully he's doing that, and that'll be the sign of a good manager. What do you think about that, Paul?
Yeah, you're right. It is new, isn't he? I mean, he had a good start, obviously, pre-season. I think we just lost one game, didn't we? And didn't particularly let many goals in. But obviously, the Championship's unforgiving. You know, you can't let people have easy chances because they'll put them away. It's just a learning curve. I think, you know, you've got to give him till Christmas. You've got to give the squad till Christmas. Hopefully, we can pick up some points along the way, you know, keep us away from the relegation. But I think it will be a squad and a team that gets better over time. I don't think it's going to be instant fix, you know, especially as we've said, we've got loads out the door and loads in the door. You know, it's not going to be an instant fix. It's happening every season a little bit, you know, where we get rid of a lot and get a fair few in. It needs to stop really and give us a chance to build season on season, but just doesn't seem to happen. And it's a shame. That's probably why we could do, you know, with the academy being used a lot more, you know, putting 1 or 2 through each season to build up. But it just doesn't seem to happen. But I think it'll get better, this team, as the season goes on. At the moment, you know, we need to improve the defence. But once we've got that sorted, I think there's plenty of goals. I think we're quite dangerous up front. We get, you know, Balumi, if he comes back, if Miller comes back, you know, we've got goals there. And I think, you know, at the end of the day, we will do all right this season. I think, you know, we could finish middle table. But I think it's going to be to Christmas up to that sort of start. I think it's going to be a bit dodgy for the first few weeks.
Cookie says that he wouldn't start Joseph ahead of Ndala. He said he got in some great positions, but he thinks they need proper wingers on the wings. Question from Coxie: do you think that Akintola can be better than Kamara from what we've seen so far? Well, I don't know about that, Coxie, if I'm honest. I probably wouldn't have let Kamara go. I'd have let somebody else go to try and help us with the wage bill and trying to get other players in. I'd have probably let Casey Palmer go if I'm honest with you. That's who I'd have let go instead of Kamara. I think Kamara should have stayed because he's a young lad. Obviously, he's only got on loan at the moment, but I think there might be an option to buy there. What's your thoughts on that, James?
Whether or not he can be better than Akintola, I mean, I don't know. It's hard to say at the minute. And we've seen Akintola do. You know, he gets in some good positions. He's assisted a couple of goals. He's done quite a lot of step overs, which, you know, You don't see that very often, very much in modern football. But in terms of Kamara, I mean, I think he gets too many pelters, doesn't he? I mean, his defensive work rate was definitely lacking at times. But at the end of the day, he was still our joint second top scorer last season, and he contributed a lot to the team that was really struggling. So I think I agree with you in saying that actually I would have probably preferred to have kept Kamara, just because I think his output would have probably helped us a bit more this season, especially in a better team than what he was in last year at the end of the day.
Chris?
Yes and no. I like Kamara. As James has pointed out, there was times when he maybe switched off, lost a bit of concentration defensively, lost a run out last year. But I do like him going forward. The one thing where what I've seen from Akintola that I like, where he seems to have an edge over Kamara, and I think with Kamara it was maybe a confidence thing, because we know he had off the field issues last year. Akintola's been more prepared to run at defenders and try and take them on and get to the byline, where Kamara would often pass it backwards or pass it inside. So, like I say, it's one of them that we're not 100% certain of, but I do like Akintola's confidence at trying to get at defenders.
Yeah, no, I like his confidence as well. I think that he's a confident player. I like that. What's your thoughts, Jan? No, we're trying, Jan, but we still can't hear you. You must have muted yourself or something. Can I unmute? Yeah, let me just see if I can. Give me a sec, Jan. Let me do it. Right. You can't unmute because that's better. Yeah, we can hear you now. What's your thoughts, Jan?
I wouldn't have left him go. You know, I understand he's like a Marmite player, isn't he? You love him or you hate him. But I do think there was a player in there. And I think it's quite sad that he's gone. But, you know, we move on. But to go back to your previous question, when I was muted, about Joseph, again, I like him. I think last season he was injured. But I think there's a physicality to him. And he might not be scoring the goals, but he's got that press and that pressure that he can hold players off and hold players up and that kind of thing. So I do think we need to be patient with Kyle Joseph.
Yeah, no, I do. I think that, you know, thanks, Lee, for agreeing with me. He agrees that Palmer's not impressed me since coming in. He's not impressed me. And better work rate from Akintola coming back. I think, yeah, I agree. He was better at coming back. You know, so, you know, to me, it's hard, isn't it? You know, we're trying to rate players on seeing them for a short period. It's really difficult. And probably, you know, Kamara's had a bit of that because he didn't get an awful lot of game time. I'd like to have seen him stay, but he's gone now, so we can't do anything about it, as you say. Matazo is coming back. And we've got a comment here from David Cross. Defo need a centre-back in January. We've got 3 Crocs at the moment. Fingers crossed 2 of them stay fit so we can have a back 4. And I agree, you know, I think it's been said many a time on here that, you know, we let 2 solid defenders go who would give you 40 games, and now we've got 2 that you're probably only going to get 20 out of. So it's difficult, isn't it? So, you know, we'll have to see what happens with that. I think that the academy might come into play when you're looking at the defence this season, unless, you know, Coyle can get fit. I know that Cookie had said to me that Coyle was slightly off it last night and maybe not ready for a start yet, but Coyle getting back to fitness will be a good thing for us because he can play as a centre-back as well as playing as a right back. So that's a good thing for us because we are going to need the cover, I think, this season because Egan's a little bit, you know, injury prone as well, isn't he? So, you know, and Hughes obviously had his things last year as well. So Coxey thinks it's Palmer. He thinks it's only a matter of time till he goes to Stoke. And you might be right, Coxey. It could be a matter of time. I'm surprised it didn't happen in this window. I was expecting him to go, to be honest, but he hasn't, and he's still with us. Out of let's get on to the signings that we've made this summer. So Dylan Phillips, Semi Ajayi, Akin Fenward, Joel Endala, John Lundstrom, Ennis Destan, Ollie McBurney, Joe Geldhart, David Akintola, Brandon Williams, and Mia we're going to call him because I'm not going to try and pronounce his surname, and Darko Disegyapi. Go on, James.
I actually don't know whether or not it's like Giabi or Giabi. I don't
Giabi. We'll go Giabi. David and Darko Giabi. Who's the most impressive out of those signings for you, Chris?
I think probably got to say McBurney at the moment from his what we've seen from him so far, but also his previous experience, quite a lot of performances up in the Premiership, he's got a lot of experience there. So on a free transfer as well, that's probably, in my opinion, the head turner. But I am looking forward to, once we're all fully fit, see how some of the others join up. Destin's obviously a bit of an unknown.
And a bit injury prone.
And injured at the moment as well. So, but again, based on what you said about Palmer, like potentially, because I seem to recall reading something saying he can play in the 10, so somebody else to back up Joffrey, and then maybe if Palmer was to go, that's maybe one that, out of what we've got left, he's the one that I wouldn't be too disheartened if he went. But yeah, I think McBain is the standout. If Semi Ajayi can stay fit, I'm looking forward to seeing him have a good run and form a partnership with Hughes. But it's an if but and a maybe, isn't it?
Well, he played well against Coventry, and he obviously helped to cement that 0-0 draw against them. So it would be nice to see him. But as you say, it's the fitness that's the problem. Who's your standout, Paul?
Well, like Chris McBurney, but I think Geldart was, a good one to get back in. Seemed to enjoy it here, and he's a goal scorer. He's got a goal or two in him. And he's a good player, so it was nice to get him back in. The others are all, you're taking a chance with some of them, I suppose. Could turn out to be really good players. We've not seen enough of them. We've not seen a lot of some of them anyway. Not even seen them yet, really. So it's hard to judge them. I think the two at the moment, myself, are Geldart and McBurney. Probably just tilt towards McBurney, but Geldart scored again on Saturday, didn't he? And he's a good player. So I think we've had a good window, apart from, as I said earlier, we could have done with another centre-back, I think, to give us cover. And I think that's the thing that we're lacking. But, it is what it is. So we're going to have to go what we've got. But I think we've got a good enough squad at the moment to finish mid-table. So I am too unhappy and too worried at the moment.
I think over to you, James.
Both that Paul said and that Chris said are obviously the obvious choices. But I think the last two games, John Lundstram has not been able to actually play his proper game because he's been having too much to do defensively. When he can actually play his game, I think he's going to make the whole team tick. He's going to make the whole thing work. And I think that's why he's actually been my favourite signing of the summer so far. Because when he's on his game, controlling that midfield, he's dictating the flow of the game. And when he's on it, that's when we're going to score a lot of goals.
I agree with you. I think Lundstrom's a good sign. I think that he's going to make the team tick, and he's been really good in the centre of midfield there, and he's dropping in when he needs to. He's moving out when he needs to. He's definitely got a pass on him. Most of the time it works. I think on Saturday a lot of things didn't work for a lot of the teams, so we'll not go about and talk about Saturday. But I think that we have made some good signings, and we've got quite a good team. So we've lost Jan for now. Unfortunately, your signal keeps dropping out, so we'll probably catch up with Jan next week. But yeah, I think overall we have considering we're under a transfer restriction at the moment. I have to get my wording right because people shout at me on the comments if I don't get it right. So being under a transfer restriction and getting the signings in that we've done really well. We do have to thank our neighbours from West Yorkshire for providing us with some players over the last couple of seasons. And, we are very, very happy that we've got these three players, Arthur. So thanks for these three players. They're all good players and they're all going to improve us. And,
You never heard thanks coming out of my mouth.
Well, I'm going to thank them. I still don't want them to stay in the Premier League. I want them to go down. Don't get me wrong, but it is nice of them to help us out when needed. Let me see if I can get rid of that off your face because there we go. Get rid of that off your face.
We're not going to start singing "We All Love Leeds," then, are we?
We're not going to start singing that.
That's not going to be
singing, is it? Definitely not. No, sorry, Arthur, but that is not going to be a song that we will be singing. So no, it is good, and Joe Geldart coming back was a really big one, and he scored a really good goal on Saturday. And I think he's going to be a big signing for Hull City, and hopefully once we get rid of this transfer restriction next summer, we can sign him on a permanent, because that'd be really good. John says that the restrictions were the best thing that happened to us. I agree with you, John, totally. I think that most people watching
100%.
would agree, to say that they think this transfer restriction is the best thing that's happened to us for definite, because we have had a really good transfer window. I think apart from just having, a little bit of crop defenders, that's the only issue that I'd have with this transfer window that we've got. It's an international break, which gives us time to get some of these players back to full fitness. Did it come at the right time, Chris, or the wrong time?
No, I think it's a good time. Just to go on to your last point before I go on to that, though, you said about the Leeds thing. You want them to come straight back down. Because they've been so nice to us, do we want them to stay up so we can get some more of their fringe players for free next year?
Well, it's a good question. It is a good question. And, it would be nice to get some more of their fringe players, but no, I mean, Hull City fans don't want Leeds to stay in the Premier League. We want them in the Championship so we can play them and go to the place that's falling down. I think they've just started to build some new foundations for a new stand down there at Ellen Road. I can't sing the song because I'll get into trouble on the radio, so I'm not going to sing the song. But I believe that Ellen Road is falling down, falling down, falling down. Ellen Road is falling down. It's there we go. That's as far as I'm going. That's the song done for tonight. MKM Stadium's definitely a nicer stadium, James, isn't it?
There's no question about it, is there? Goes without saying.
What's your thoughts, Paul?
Oh, yeah, it's a better stadium. Man, yeah, I quite like Bulford Park, to be fair.
Best street food in the country now.
I like Bulford Park. I think there was a bit more. The atmosphere seemed better, I think, from the fans at Bulford Park. Probably a bit closer to the players and what have you. But anyway, we are at the MKM, and it is a lot better stadium, yeah. And it's obviously, it's obviously helped Hull City, hasn't it, getting this better stadium? Because since we've got there, we've done quite well at the stadium, haven't we? Been Premiership a couple of times, been to Wembley, and a couple of times, so it's done us good. The only thing is, obviously, last couple of seasons, winning there hasn't been easy, has it?
No,
and
it's not.
Hull
if only it was ours.
The same problem. They don't seem to win
if
many
only it was
times at home.
ours. I have seen some drawings of the new boulevard, I think they're calling it, that Hull FC might be building. I have seen some little drawings of those.
Get them out.
Does that get Hull FC out, and does that get the stadium? Because obviously Coventry have just bought their stadium, haven't they? It is better to own your stadium. Is it better to own your stadium with an owner like ours, though, Chris?
Oh, that's $1 million question.
I caught you off guard there, Chris, didn't I?
You did indeed. I mean, if my understanding is right about FFP and everything, that only sort of comes into play when you're talking about your squad and what have you.
Yeah.
So if he's a man of his word, he'd sort of said if they got like the backing from the council, didn't they? So if Hull were to move out and they was able to buy the stadium and the land around it, maybe he gets to be able to develop it without any sort of hand slapping over what he's been spending. And he wanted to bring the academy and the training facilities around there. So if you can buy it and the land around it, then maybe a good thing, and it wouldn't have an impact on the playing squad. So, but then again, are the council going to agree to that? That's another show by the sounds of it, isn't it?
Do you know what my issue is? I think they're never going to. The council are never going to invest in the stadium. They don't rent it out for anything else. We don't have concerts there or anything anymore. So what good is it being under the SMC when we'd have a much better use out of it? It's never made sense to me.
It's a strange one. I think when they set it up with Adam Pearson at the time, it was a good thing and it was well managed and everything worked quite well. We did get some concerts at them times, James, and it was different when we first moved in there. Times have changed over the years, and the stadium has become a bit worn. Nobody really wants to spend any money on it because the stadium management company lose money. Hull City Council don't really do anything with it because the stadium management company run it. And so it's a bit of a hard situation. I do think obviously if FC did go somewhere, then buying the stadium would probably be a really good thing for us because you know yourself. If you're in a rented house, you do a lot less work to a rented house than you would to a house that you actually own. And it's the same, you know, when you've got a stadium, you do a lot less to that stadium than, you know, that you don't own than if you had a stadium that you did own, you'd probably do a bit more to it. Anyway, we've got a bit off kilter, and I apologize for that. I didn't really want to go that far off it. I was just sort of putting something out there because, you know, I think that we obviously, you was talking about the atmosphere at the stadium and stuff like that. I think he has tried to get the atmosphere at the stadium better. They've put the safe standing in this season, but ultimately we've had that much bad results at home over the past 2 years that's maybe caused us to be a little bit nervous as fans.
I think where the fans are doesn't help as well at the minute, where we're all situated. The two singing sections of the fans are separated by away fans.
Yeah. And Lee says the travelling fair will always hamper stadium plans, and you're right. It's sad when you drive past Walton Street to see how big the area is. Most of it's just empty till Hull Fair comes for a week. Hull Fair is about a month away. And you are right, though, in what you say. And I think there's a thing between football fans and non-football fans about the travelling fair and whether, you know, it would be best to move it somewhere else. I know football fans will say, yeah, move it, and non-football fans will probably say it's been there for as long as it needs to stay. So it's always going to be a difficult situation, and maybe building the stadium there won the right place. You know, you see that a lot of these out-of-town ones get built next to the river, like Everton's, like the Stadium of Light and stuff like that. So it's difficult to know, isn't it? But, you know, we are where we are. We've got to try and deal with it as best we can and try and, you know, obviously keep it as our home and try and make it a bit of a fortress this season going forward, Paul.
Yeah, definitely, because we haven't had it for the last 2 seasons, I don't think. It's been, you know, poor, well, it has been poor, to be fair. And even the displays haven't been really inspiring, have they, most of the time? So, I don't know. Yeah, we need to sort something out, but I don't know what it is. I mean, James might be right. It might be the fans are in the wrong position. I don't know. But we certainly need to sort something out and get it. You know, when you think of Hull KR, I think that stand is the East stand, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Frightens a lot of other teams, I think, when they come there. They're more or less on top of them. And, you know, they're all Hull KR fans in that one stand just about. And, you know, it's a frightening place. And I think that's, you know, you want that a little bit, don't you? You want it to be fearful and things like that, you know, rather than not, you know, it's quiet. They've often said it's a quiet stadium, haven't they? A lot of people have said it's a real
when you look at Hull FC, you know, on a good season, average more supporters than Hull KR, but the atmosphere at Hull KR's ground is far better than it is at the MKM Stadium. So it does say that, you know, having that many supporters in the same area works better, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, but we're not going to get there, I don't think. So just got to make the best of it. Hopefully, you know, Serge, you can get us playing well at home, getting a few points there, and maybe that'll create the atmosphere. Because obviously, you know, team doing well and playing well, you know, it gets the atmosphere. The Oxford game, a prime example. You know, we played well, and you know, it was the atmosphere coming away from that day was brilliant. So yeah, we've got to look for a few more days like that. I think. Hopefully,
we
he
have
can
certainly
work his magic.
Not got a home game, and is it the 21st of the month? Am I right in that? I need to look at my calendar. It's the 20th, sorry, the 20th versus Southampton at home. Swansea away, our next game. I know Jan's travelling down to Swansea. 51 quid, she said, for the coach on to go to Swansea. So if you are going to Swansea, well done to you. Good luck to you. I haven't made my decision yet, but based on Bristol's display, I'm thinking, based on this display at Bristol, sorry, I'm thinking that I might not bother. It's a long way to go, isn't it? But anyway, we're not far from running out of time. We're going to have a special next week because obviously it's the international break and we've got not a game to discuss from the last week. So what's this special that we're going to do, Paul?
Well, it's up to you. I mean, I did the other one we did, the to Holland Back podcast. I said, what about doing the best 11 loan signings we've had over the time?
And I think it's a good idea. So we are going to do the best 11 loan signings next week. So if you're on, boys, best 11 loan signings. We'll make you a couple of substitutions if you want. We can't, and we'll see how it goes. And if you can join in as well, if you're watching us, do your best 11 loan signings, and we'll all come together. We'll have a bit of a laugh about it, and we'll try and work out, what the best 11 loan signings are. I'll probably do mine at about 3 minutes to 7 next week, so it'll be absolutely rubbish and thrown together. But you lads, I'm sure, will put a load of effort into it. Anyway, you've been on Tiger Talk here on Humble Wave Radio and Hold 'Em Back podcast. I'm Adey Wright. Thanks to you, Paul.
Thank you.
Thanks to you, Chris.
Thanks very much.
And thanks to you, James. We'll be back next week at the time of 7 o'clock.
This is Humble
I'll
Wave
just need to
Radio.
press some buttons.